I don't want to get into it.
And ain't nobody gonna stop me.
Front yard both times.
Fucking bath towel boy over here.
I honestly, bro, fear is so, I despise it. I don't know if I should despise it or if I should use it or whatever I do, but it's like
it's a love-hate relationship.
It's had such a hold on me for so long. Like even like little shit or big shit that I just hated it so much that I was like, nope, if I can't let it control me anymore. Can't let it bug me, because if I do, then I'm gonna fucking lose it. And I'm not,
so,
I just don't feel like myself,
Where do you think that stems from, though? Like, so obviously you could say from the moment of your, like, I don't remember when I was 1, 2, 3 years old, whatever the time is, right? But there's always something at every stage of your life that instills fear in you, right? But when is it your adult life that you're like overcome to where it's truly like paralyzing? Like, where does that?
See, that's a good question, bro.
Because think about, like, there's all stages of your life. Think about what you were afraid of as a kid.
Yeah.
That you're not afraid of now, or vice versa.
I'm still afraid
that you
of spiders,
weren't.
But
Well, what you weren't when you were 12 years old or 10 years old.
Yeah.
You're probably afraid of getting in trouble, right?
Fucking public speaking.
Well, but take this as an example. You were afraid of, like, oh, I pushed Timmy down on the playground and I got in trouble, but it's okay, whatever. Now, at 34, if I get in trouble, I'm probably going to fucking jail.
Yeah.
Like, you got to think of, like, the magnitude of think of all the things when you were a kid. So two-part, that you were a kid that you were afraid of that you're not afraid of now, or that you were afraid of as a kid wait, did I say the same thing twice?
I get what you're saying.
So when you were a kid,
so
that you were and were not afraid of
now, and you weren't, but you are now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind, I don't know if this is either one, but so I visited my grandparents, and there's this kid came over, and he was just being a little shit, a little whatever, and talking shit. I mean, grew up a little outskirts of Seattle. There's shit talkers everywhere. Crazy. Idaho, not many, but anyway, right?
What are you gonna argue about, potatoes?
So I punched him, right, in the backyard, and he went crying, whatever. My grandma yelled at me, and I was like, fuck, I probably shouldn't have done that. And then my grandpa turned to look at me, and he just smiled and was like, good job, kid.
A little bit of approval.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, it's okay to do that. And so, like, I wasn't sure, and I did it. And at first I was like afraid, because like, oh, fuck, maybe I wasn't supposed to do that. And now that I'm older, I think like how big of an impact that was, because after that, I was never afraid to punch anyone. I was like, well, I'm going to talk shit. I'm going to fucking lay you out, dude. I'm going to throw hands on you. And like, it just makes you think, like, how many big moments like that could be swayed. Like, if my grandpa didn't say anything, maybe I would be afraid to punch people to this day. Like, how crazy is that to think about? Or, I could have been afraid until a moment, and then when I'm older, I would have to figure out, like, oh, you have to stand up for yourself. You have to do this, right? So, I don't know if that really answered your question, but I tried to throw a two-way street in there.
Yeah, that's where, like, fear can be confusing, or growing up can be confusing, because you have so many conflicting ideas, so many conflicting like points of view. For this person over here, it's okay to do that. For this person, it's not okay. But maybe if you gave this person a few more pieces of information, maybe they would be swayed. Or maybe you take out a few more pieces of information, this person would be swayed the other way. Like, it's with the huge mind F.
Yeah.
Of like society in the world is like, okay, Brad, if I gave you these 10 pieces of information, would you hate this person? But if I cut out 5 of them, would you then think, they might be on a wrong path, but they're not that bad of a person? It's like you only know what you know.
Yeah, it's like a highlight reel.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it kind of goes back to.
Wait, before we get too far, Bug, you want to lead us off? We're rolling.
Yeah. So
too deep. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good. Yeah. So I think this is a first time for us, right? This is a Untamed Entertainment podcast where it's just bNasty and Bug here. So
yeah, just the two of us.
Just there you go. And we had a little pre-show conversation, which was actually really good. So, if you don't like this one, then sorry, you fucking miss the other one too. So, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be, it's going to be, it really was. And I think it's maybe the benefit of the whole squad, right? So you got bNasty and Bug here tonight, Steve, who's been pretty fairly regular. But then you also got Pistol and Timbo. And I think very similar yet different beliefs across, not beliefs, mindsets, personalities, takes on things. I think that's what makes this podcast, in my mind, pretty great, is you can agree to disagree, you can agree to agree, or you can just fucking hate my opinion. But at the end of the day, tonight's going to be a good one because we tossed around a few different ideas. And the funny thing, Brad, is I think that some of the things we potentially talking about, are going to maybe intertwine a little bit in like what we've already kind of kicked this off with.
Yeah.
And
I fully agree. I think it's inevitable.
And I think what we've kind of talked about, we talked for almost an hour before we went live. And, we were talking about, how to handle different types of people. And when you don't agree with people, can you kind of see their point of view? Can you be empathetic? Can you kind of, walk the line with them, kind of see where they're going? Maybe you just think they're crazy. Maybe you think they have a point. But at the end of the day, I think it's very important to, be open to different ideas, be open to different thoughts and different ways of life and stuff like that. And it kind of segmented us into fear. And I'll be honest, some of the things I was saying prior to us going live was I was afraid of hurting this person's feelings. I was afraid of dealing with the ramifications of if I said something that pushed them the wrong way. And the bummer is, I don't think you'll ever get away from fear. Like, because 10 years from now, things that are going to scare me are approaching a different stage of my life, right? So for all you people out there who have listened or seen our tech talks, I know you think I'm 24 and this young gun, but
you do look young though, for real though. You look young.
Yeah.
It's good.
Until when I go bald is when I'll jump from my age to maybe like 15 to 20 years older. But
if you go bald, you'll be the hairless man. You'll have
no
hair, head to toe, no hair.
Bro, I barely have any eyebrows, which this camera is not doing me justice. I do have eyebrows.
I see it, bro. It's all right. Hey, it's all right. I don't have much armpit hair. Like, it's there.
Okay.
But, it's just.
And I shaved. I shaved last month, so that's why I don't look like I have much facial hair. So, yeah, no chest hair.
That up.
But I'm thinking like when I'm 44, I'm 34 right now. When I'm 44, when I'm 54, in a perfect world, when I'm 54, I'm like getting ready to retire. But I got a few things to figure out to make my financial plan work that way. But it's like every stage of your life, you come up with something different to be afraid about or that could challenge you in fear.
Yeah.
And I kind of go back to Brad, what I asked that I kind of got off topic with is, what could you name something that happened in your life or a period of time that fear just paralyzed you? And was that the moment that you said, I'm no longer going to let this control me? Because it's always going to be there. Something's going to change. You're about to have a kid. When your kid is born, when your kid is 10, going in, or when they're going into high school or college or off on their own. Like there's always going to be these fears that you have.
Yeah.
But is there a moment that you could say that you were like paralyzed and it just completely consumed you?
I mean, off the top of my head, no. I mean, doesn't mean it didn't happen. I mean, from where I sit now, I think it's just a buildup of a bunch of different shit. Like I was afraid to say something in the moment, and that would just eat at me because I would sit there and be like, man, this is your chance to, get that weight off your shoulders. Like, express yourself, and then you didn't do it. So now, not only did I still have that weight, but I'm also mad at myself for not doing that, or like not going to ask out a girl, or, when I should have. I'm like, there's my chance, go do it. And then I don't do it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you afraid of? And I would sit there and be like, wow, what's the worst that could happen? Blah, 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 blah. And I don't know. I think I just got to a point where I was just tired of it. And I just was like, I'm not going to let shit control me. And so I was like, no, when you're scared of shit, just go do it. Like, to a point, I would try, but I started, hey, well, let's go and let's talk to this girl. Fuck it. And then when people said something, I was just like, just say it. And then I would just start saying it. And it's a slower process, but like I don't know, it was good for me. So now I'm at a decent point now where I tend to speak my mind and say what I feel. And I guess the consequences is what it is. I mean, because you're either going to be mad at yourself, is what I found out, that you don't say it, and then have a play through the scenario game of like what could have happened and what you should have said and how you could have felt better. Instead of doing that game, I just said, all right, let's just say it and see what the fuck happens. And then if they don't like it or you don't like it, then I guess we'll just cross that bridge. And I found out that a lot of people will agree with you or see where you're coming from. And sometimes they don't, but it is what it is at that point. At least when I did that, even if they didn't agree or they thought the worst or they were upset, at least I got that weight off my shoulders. At least I wasn't sitting there mad at myself again or this. At least I was like, oh, at least they're mad at me. I'm not mad at myself. So I think it was like times like those that once I just forced myself to do it, that I was like, all right, well, like this is better than the alternative. And I just kind of
so it's your regret is less with not saying something than saying something, because and this was something something that we kind of touched on before we went live was at least when you say something that maybe you took out of context or could be taken out of context, or you thought about it a little bit more and you're like, wow, like now that I really look at the big picture, I could have framed that up differently. Then you still have that opportunity to go back to that person or to that situation and say, hey, look, I was thinking about this more and XYZ. This is what I was thinking, and it probably was taken out of context or whatever. You still have kind of like something in your back pocket. But when you don't say something, one thing that I've learned, and I still struggle with this a little bit because I'm not at the point where you're at, where you're like, in the moment, no matter what, I'm just going to say it. There are times where I'll overanalyze the situation and I'll wonder if it's the right time, right? And sometimes there's not the right time. It doesn't matter what the scenario is, but then I won't say something. And then like a week will go by, or say even longer. There's times I've had situations with my wife where it was like, I didn't say something because I'm like, you know what? One problem I have, and I'm going to take a step back because I'm rambling, but I'm very, one, I overanalyze situations, but two, there are times when I do pride myself in speaking before I make a mistake because I haven't analyzed the context, the situation. I'm like, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to think about what's going on here, and then I'll speak. Right. But
yeah,
my problem is a week or two will go by and then an example will click or something will happen in the moment I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just like a month ago. And I'll try to bring it up, and it's like, I don't have 2 legs to stand on. Like, dude, that time has passed. You didn't speak up in the moment. You didn't say what you were thinking. You didn't share your feelings or your thoughts. Like, dude, like that, your time was then. Now we're here, and you're trying to make a point when you had a chance back then. And that's what I struggle with. That's what I'm not great at. I'm not great at that right now.
Well, I mean, the best part, Bug, is that you're trying, and that
sure.
you're in that pursuit. Because I'm not perfect. I still don't do it every time. I just, because the fear is still there. Like, I don't know if it ever goes away. Like, it gets less, but sometimes in like what like I think is important, like those moments are harder, right? Or if it's in like, because I'm actually really good at that. Like, I'm really good at like sitting there, taking a breath, analyzing real quick, and then speaking. And I don't know. Honestly, I think I get that from playing quarterback, like analyzing the defense.
Sure.
I think I just train my brain enough to do that, but that's what I do, and it makes it easier. But I mean, I'm not perfect. I definitely don't, but I just strive all the time, and I force myself a lot, as much as I can, to be like, nope, just say it before the moment's over. And I'll think about like the first 3 words, and I'll just blurt it out. And then oddly enough, I just keep on rambling and I say what I want. It's weird, but like if I can force myself to say like even the first like 2 or 3 words, you've already committed, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like a small step, but you've already committed. And then you're like, well, fucking might as well just say what I want.
And I think it's oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I just want to real quick. I've been in your scenario where it's been too late and the moment's passed. And I actually, one time I forced myself to do it. I was like, fuck it. And I just said, hey, I know the moment's passed. I literally just said that. Like, I know the moment's passed, but I thought about it and I have to say this before it bugs me. And then I just said it. And I've done it a couple times, and sometimes it falls on deaf ears and people are like, that was fucking 30 minutes ago. And they kind of battle against it. And other times they're like, all right, cool, we can talk about it. So
yeah, and
I always
I think
felt better though,
Yeah, and I think my situation is like, okay, we'll just I'm gonna just make up a scenario, truly make this up because this doesn't happen in my house. But let's say that, oh man, okay, no, this is a real scenario. I'm gonna give a real scenario. And this is super petty.
I like this way better.
So by the way, this is super petty, and I'm already admitting to that. And anybody who listens to this, and my wife included, I'm admitting this is petty, but and she doesn't do it anymore. So I just want to preface that. But my wife was
spit it out, but we've all done.
Dude, my
shit.
wife was notorious for, we would have like a snack or dinner or lunch or whatever.
Wait, she chew with her mouth open?
No.
Oh my God, I was about to lose it for you.
No. She would get like I would have a napkin, right? Or paper towel. She'd get done with her meal, put her plate away, blah, blah, blah. Then I'd look over and there's like a little fucking teepee on the couch. Then I look over here, there's one over there. I'm like, how long have these been fucking piling up? And I would just let it fly. I'd pick it up. I'd do it myself. I'm like, it's not worth the fight. There's no point. It's so petty. And then finally I got to a point where I was like, we were probably having a conversation. I was like, oh, what little like things like annoy you about me? It's like, you fucking leave napkins around this house like it's a fucking frat house. Okay? We're in our 30s. Like, let's get it together. She's like, why would you not just tell me in the moment? And I'm like, I just thought it wasn't worth it. And it was easier for me to pick it up and throw it away myself. And in hindsight, it's all about presentation, right? If I came at her, fucking Kool-Aid man through the wall, and I busted through. I picked it up and I was like, "This is like," and just like lost it. Like, okay, that's not how you handle such a basic situation.
Right.
What if you just say, hey babe, by the way, let's just like maybe think about our napkins and shit, like maybe throw them away after we're done, like whatever, like however you want to frame it up, however,
Yeah.
everybody knows their partner, wife, husband, friend, whatever, like roommate, whatever, how you communicate with them. And if I were to do it this way, not right. If I do it this way, maybe sometimes I'm a little too sarcastic. So maybe I'd tone that back a little bit, say, hey, you mind just like, trying to think about like when you're done eating, just like picking up your napkin, throw it away. Oh yeah, no, you're right. And like when I approach it the right way at the right time, then it's generally, oh my gosh, I know I do that. I'm sorry. Like I'll think about it more, and like it'll be at the forefront of my mind. Like, okay. But if you go about it even if you do it in the moment and go about it the wrong way, it could be a failure.
Yeah.
Or you let it slide for forever and then you blow up. That's also not good. Like, that's why I think it's important, like you were saying, to just address it in the moment. As long as you address it, you don't have to tiptoe around it, because I used to do that all the time. But if you address it in the moment, in the right tone, in the right manner, like it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And
if they take it wrong, then just talk about it. And if it still goes south, maybe there's other issues like underlying.
Yeah, there's probably something deeper. But what's funny, I used to do that. I used to do that in a lot of relationships, even in my current marriage, until, my wife, she's pretty vocal about stuff, and she would just like tell me that, hey, why do you bottle it up? Like, just talk. We'll get through it. And, after this was like our first year of marriage or whatever, and beat me down enough. And then I started doing it, and I feel way better. Now I probably say a little too much sometimes, but it just got it out, because I bottled up everything since I was a kid, and it just carried over. And I never realized it until later on. I'd be like blowing up. I remember the first time I did that, I blew up over nothing. She was like, "What's the deal?" And I was like, "This stupid goddamn whatever, blah, blah, blah." And then she looks at me, she's like, "You're mad about that?" And I was like, "Yes." And, and started going off, and it was just kind of like a weird moment where it was just like, maybe not the first time, but after a while, it was just kind of like, yeah, I just need to talk about it. It feels way better than bottling it up, because then it's like resenting yourself. Fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's not good.
You hate yourself for how you went about it, because you let it get to that point.
Yeah. And all you have to do is just not be scared. I don't even know if scared is the right word, but like, even if you don't want confrontation, or, or be like, is it worth it? Generally, the answer is going to be yes.
Can I ask you a question that can probably go a million different ways, because there's so many variables in upbringing and the type of friend group you had at different stages of your life or whatever. But so we're going to have to take this with a grain of salt, because I think there's a lot of different ways to answer this. But with what you just said, we get to that point, right? Maybe you're afraid of confrontation. Maybe you just want to be a people pleaser. So then you get to that point, you explode, you blow up, and it's for like a napkin on a couch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think gets us to that point? Like what creates the mindset early on that says, make people happy, don't confront, don't intervene, don't interfere? Like what does that? Is that like human nature? I'm not saying I have the answer, but having us have this discussion, I'm like, what got me to where I was at?
That's a good question, man.
And we may not have the answer here. Hopefully people are listening and they comment or they say something or whatever, but like just hearing us talk about this,
I know, right?
It's good. Like in my head, I'm thinking I grew up in a situation where I was constantly bending over backwards and like making sure that my parents were happy, that they weren't, because I saw how hard they worked, right? My dad busted his ass. My mom did too. And in my head, I was like, I want them to be, I don't want to be a stress on my parents. And I'm not saying that's what got me to where I'm at, where I'm like trying to people please all the time, holding it in. And obviously, I'm working on that, and I've definitely made progress. But there was a point not too long ago where like it was debilitating, or that might not be the word. That might be a little too aggressive, but like it was anxiety. It was building anxiety in me
Yeah.
and wearing me the fuck out because I was trying. Once I got married, once I had kids, once I bought a house, like once not quite the order that all that happened, but when you have all these things, it's like I have all these other things to worry about. Why am I so worried about if people like me or not, or if I offend them or whatever? Like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. So maybe it's not the best question for this time, but I don't know. What do you think? Like,
I think it's a great question, but I think let's just spitball here, right?
sure.
We'll just spitball and see where we land. So when you're saying that, I was thinking a little bit. So as kids, I don't think it's ingrained in us because as kids, like you don't give a fuck. You go up and steal Tommy's toy, and you're like, "Hey, give me that. I want it." Usually the whole time.
So you're talking like toddler.
Yeah, like
Okay.
like daycare type shit, right? You're up there, kids steal toy, push kids down. They don't give a fuck. They only give a fuck when they've done it and they've got yelled at before, and then they do it again because they're mad, and then they look to see like who's gonna yell at me, right? So I think it's like a top behavior, and so while I was rambling
But there's
on
a point.
there, well,
Go
while I was
ahead.
rambling
Keep
on,
going.
so I think all right, just hear me out, right? We'll go down this alley. So parents were divorced, right? Split family, blah blah blah. I let's just maybe there's like a hole in me that's like I don't know, like you don't want to lose people because your family's broken and split up or whatever. Maybe you're like, hey, I don't want to lose anyone else, so I want to hold on to them tight and whatever. So maybe I don't want to say these things to like that. I'm like, hey, if I say this, maybe they'll not want to be around me, or they don't want to, I'll piss them off so bad that they're going to leave me or whatever. I don't know. But it's definitely a scenario that like it's maybe not a learned behavior, but something that's happened to you that you're afraid of people leaving you, or that you'd be all alone because whatever, right? Like
That's a good example. I mean,
that's just a scenario. I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Let's spitball here. We might come up with something that,
so
or it
the
might be
whole
all
point
of
of
it.
the question. Yeah, that's the thing too, and I actually agree with that last statement. Is asking that in my head, I'm thinking there's going to be so like you had a different upbringing than I did. Regardless of if you could try to make every factor of you and I growing up the exact same, we still would have had different experiences because you encounter different people, different teachers, different coaches, different whatever. So like, however, you can even have twins. I've known twins that I got along with one better than the other, right? So despite what upbringing you have, there's so many different factors that I think play into this. And I think my whole thing is the fact that, okay, so my parents stayed together. You said your parents broke up, right? But I saw at a young age, like, so let's get out of the toddler age. Let's get into the fact that, okay, I'm in grade school. I'm in first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth, whatever. And I'm being taught to listen to your elders, like be respectful. When you go out to a restaurant, don't be a freaking fool. Be kind to your classmates. And to say I did that all the time, BS. Like, Nobody's perfect, right? I'm going to own up to that. But what I did learn is that there are certain elements when you're a kid, you don't know enough that an adult does, or even someone in college does, or whatever. So you're kind of taught at a young age to just kind of like conform, and you don't know more than the next person. And that could be kind of tough, but there is a point. There's got to be a point where you are allowed to have a voice. You know, like if you're in fifth
Yeah.
grade and you have a 35-year-old saying like, "Hey, yo, you can't steal that candy bar," right? And you don't understand. Like, well, it's right there. I can see it. Like, why can't I just have it? Like there's a point where you have a voice of reason and you know right from wrong, and you kind of establish your own point of view. And I think for me,
you build your own
I was in my 20s when I hit a point where I was like, I'm just kind of tired of bending over backwards.
Yeah.
I still do it to a degree. I still, if I see someone that's in a rougher spot, say someone that's elderly and they're just struggling. Yeah, I'm gonna go out of my way to kind of help them and do something I probably wouldn't do for someone younger and more able-bodied or whatever. But I honestly, it was my mid to late 20s where I was like, I had people in my life that kind of showed me that, look, if you're not there, and I'm stealing your words, Brad, because we talked about this, but if you're not going to better yourself, then I'm not going to be able to help you better yourself. You have to want it yourself before I can aid in that process.
Wise words.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't have quoted you, or semi-quoted you.
No. It's good. I'm actually glad you did, man. And here's why, because there's so many times where I listen to like Jordan Peterson or you know, whoever, right? David Goggins. And I think, and I've always thought it, but they put it into like a phrase that I'm like, that's what, you know, that's what like I'm about. But you've never like thought of it as a phrase like that, you know, or like a motto or whatever you want to call it. Right. But you've always just been like, oh, this is what I'm about. And it's like a long story. But then somebody puts it in like a little phrase. And then, you know, that's why, you know, I'm glad you use it. I hope other people use that shit too, or whatever. Not for any praise, but like it's more of like, so people be like, oh yeah, that's how I feel. And I've done that so many times, right? I don't know if you have, but like they just resonate so much. And I'm like, yes, that's like one of my core value type shit, you know?
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too is like, you know, tying this back to fear, like I was always afraid of offending someone or hurting their feelings or like,
and why is that, right? I feel like that's like nationwide, or not, maybe not nation, worldwide. Like everyone's so afraid to like what everyone thinks about them. Why do you think that is? I don't have a good answer.
So
is it because we need people?
So here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing. There's some people that don't give a fuck, and I think that's a problem. I think there's two ends. There's two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
There's people that can't acknowledge their own flaws, right? That are never wrong. It's always someone else to blame. And even when they know they're wrong and they're given time to think about it, there's always a but. And I've been exposed to this in my life, and I've been around this type of person, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Even someone close to you. And so to answer your question, there's two ends of the spectrum, right? There's people that when it comes to that side of it, you're never going to win. You could try to reason, rationalize, whatever. You have to have like the holy grail of situations to happen where like something finally clicks. And I don't know enough about narcissists to say that that's going to change or whatever. But I think it's
the worst.
I think when you get the people that are the average, right, or the majority in the middle, I think there's an element of human nature that you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, right? But
like caring.
I think it goes back to.
But is that like how people think of you? Like, is that what you're trying to say? Like you care Just is that part of your caring nature that you care what they think about you?
I think it's a lot of things. Yeah, I think
'cause
that's
I've
one of
always-
them.
Well, I always think like in my mind when I hear caring, I'm like, okay, I care about somebody else and their well-being, right? Like, I don't think of caring like, hey, I care what you think about me. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't
Yeah,
like word associate that.
that's true. Yeah, there's the same word, but technically antonyms at the same time. Like they
Right?
mean completely different things.
Yeah.
And I think overall, it's human nature to want people to like you, and you want people to respect you. But I think part of what respect comes is like being true to who you are.
Yes.
And
You don't find that
I
out
go
till
back,
later on in life.
well, yeah, and I go back to there's a way to go about every situation. You could be fucking Kool-Aid man busting through the wall and super aggressive. You could be too complacent, or you could be right in the middle. But I think every situation presents itself with like one of those options. Sometimes you have to fucking bust on the wall. You have to be, you have to awaken someone and like make them really truly think about what the hell they're doing if it's that extreme. On the other side, if you know who you're dealing with and maybe they're a little docile, maybe they're like a little sensitive and you don't want to tiptoe around it, but you want to be direct in the right way. There's always a way to go about things. So to me, you assess the situation, you take in your context clues if you know how to read a room, and you
Yeah.
address the issue in the right way. Like, so if I have someone who doesn't get sarcasm, doesn't get jokes, they're so like black and white, I'm going to be as direct as fuck as I can with them
Are you
because
talking
they're not
like
going to
Mr.
get it.
Rogers type?
Yeah, if you don't if you try to be like sarcastic and joke around, they're going to just be confused. So if I I find myself pretty good at this, but I'm not perfect. But if you know how to read a person and understand them, then I think you can present it or address an issue, some even terrible issues, like in a pretty good way.
Yeah.
But if you can't read the room, you can't read context clues, you can't understand what someone's going through, because again, that's the other side. You have to be empathetic to the people that you're working with and that you're talking to and that you're friends with and your family with. If you can't be that way, then it's all about your approach. And
Yes.
if you go in guns a-blazing, that person is like a scared, timid little person, you're going to scare them right out of the room and never even have a chance to get through to them. So,
Yeah.
extremely long story short, I think there's some human nature built in to wanting to people please. But I think at the end of the day, if you get to know the people you're working with, and I say work with, not like in a job, but like interacting with is probably what I should have said.
Yeah. That's a good way.
And you can read a room, judge their personalities or address their personalities. You can be direct in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's just knowing how to talk to people, and that's just like learning how to speak and articulate and say what you mean. Because if you just know, if your vocabulary is very small, and I don't have like the best vocabulary, yours blows mine away all the time. Sometimes you say things, I'm like, fucking, I gotta use context clues to figure out what this fucking words means. Fuck, But
I have Webster up on one of my one of my screens here, so I'm just
okay.
yeah. So
You
I'm
got
not.
word of the day?
I don't. Yeah. That's my goal. Every podcast I get at least 6 word of the days in.
Dude, I swear to God, I'm like, Jesus fucking, bud, come on. But I kind of forgot what I was saying.
You indirectly just made me feel really good about myself, but also kind of
good.
an asshole at the same time.
Nah, you're good, man. Nah, don't be like an asshole.
I'm joking.
But fuck, you might have to catch me back. I'm off track.
I think we take a deep breath, right? Take a deep breath here. Take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
But you were talking about reading a room, and it was just about how to read those people that you're interacting with to get your point across.
Yeah. So yeah, if you can read someone or know like a little bit of vocabulary and know how to say things, you can word it in a way that won't offend people, because if you're just like, man, the only way I know how to say this is you're an asshole, then they're probably going to get upset. But if you can say, like, the way that you were talking back there, I didn't appreciate any of it. And, you got to, if you keep going this direction that way, how you're talking to me, then we're going to have a problem. And maybe that's not the nicest way either, but like there's different levels, I guess what I'm saying. As you can say, like I'm blunt. Hey, you're an asshole. Hey, don't talk to me like that. Or you can be like, hey man, do when you talk to people like that, do you get a negative response every time? Because I'm responding negatively right now, and it's the way your tone is the way you're coming at me. If you come in at me a little different, we could probably have a little bit different conversation, maybe a little more positive. So there's different ways to put a spin on it, but that's if you know how to talk to people or how to
read them.
Yeah. Right. And that's one benefit that I'm good at. My vocabulary, meh, but I know how to read people and look at them and be like, hey, well, let me put it this way.
Think about this, the group on this podcast. And I know it's just you and I tonight, but I mean,
it's going pretty well.
I would say, let's take you and I here tonight. We had a podcast last week. If you didn't listen to it and you're listening to this one now, go back and listen to that one. Love it. Thank you. Appreciate it. But we didn't agree on everything, right?
Hardly.
Okay.
At least that's how I felt, bro. Like I felt on such an island. I was like,
but here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. I played back that one in my mind, and we agreed on more things than I think you understand. And I think it's because we were so passionate about what we were talking about, and we were also not prepared to talk about that. I think if you and I...
Well, I brought up a lot of facts. A lot of facts.
Fucking facts. The fucking facts.
I know, the funny thing is, how else do you win an argument or present your case?
I understand. But the funny thing is, after we had that conversation, I had so much, and this is what... I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist right here. My phone was listening to that entire thing because everything on my social media was politically related. Like, it was insane.
Stop, bro. Fuck, that sucks.
Insane. And
well, I agree with you there, bro. Tinfoil hat on. I think we get listened to all the time.
But dude, I wish I actually heard some of these things on my phone, like through social media, because I'm like, wow, this person makes a good point on this one. This person makes a good point on this one. And it was on both sides. It was all over.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I wanted to save like 10 TikToks and 5 posts and 3 tweets and whatever to like just dissect it together and see how much more we were aligned. Because I think what we agreed upon, and for anybody listening now that didn't listen to what's probably the previous podcast, we're talking in the future now. Yeah. Brad and I have, I will say this, and you will probably disagree, very similar but different beliefs and ideas. There's a lot of things Brad and I can agree on. There's a lot of things Brad and I can agree to disagree on. And there's a lot of things that we're just going to disagree on, but we can see the other person's point of view. I'm sure there's times I look like a clown. I'm like, he has no leverage. He has no like backing of what he's saying. And I'll agree to that because I didn't quite research what we were getting into, but you can still respect that person. And I agree. I can admit that I'm going to look like a clown sometimes where I just say something. I'm like, an hour later, I'm like, what the fuck did I just say? Like, why did I say that? But other times it's like, as long as I can talk to someone and they're open to hearing my point of view, that's all I ask.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are afraid of that. Talking about fear, like a lot of people are afraid that they're going to be engaging or interacting with someone who is just so stubborn. I'm going to say it again. I have someone in my life who is very stubborn, who has straight up told me that based on my age, because I'm younger than them, and a lot of other things and experiences and whatever, that they will never be swayed by what I say. And to me, that's a person that is not going to progress.
No.
You have to be open to ideas. You have to be open to new direction. And we're not talking One Direction, the band. We're talking new direction. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. You want to see my back tat of them?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But I think when it comes to fear, we're afraid of just offending people. But if you approach it in the right way and you surround yourself with people that are open-minded, even though I wasn't prepared going into that conversation, I knew that like we're going to butt heads. It's fine. But we're going to come out of it like maybe seeing a point of view that we still don't agree with, but we can accept that it's like I can see where they're coming. I'm still going to do my thing. Don't get me wrong, but I can see where they're coming from, and I can appreciate that.
Right. I mean, the whole point of it for me was like, if you just take a few things that I said and you didn't have to like change your view on it, but just think about it and think about like maybe the logic, or maybe like, hey, I'm going to actually go and check some of the shit he was spitting out and look into it to see that shit, and maybe like, wow, man, okay. And maybe it won't change like your stance like as a whole or anything, but maybe you might, take a little, like a little shift in your stance. Like, okay, well, maybe he had a point like this.
Keep going. No, you're on a good point. You're fueling the brain up here, so keep going with this.
Right?
This
like,
is great.
Maybe like you'll change it a little bit. Like, well, he has a good point here, but I don't agree with him here. And then it'll like maybe just shift your mind a little bit to be like, okay, well, maybe we can meet in the middle on these or whatever. Like, I mean, best that, dream scenario, right? But like, I feel like a lot of that's like how in my mind, maybe not in the moment, but like afterwards, I'm like, when I think about it, I'm like, man, I hope this is how it kind of went. Because to be honest, bro, I thought we were going to be on the same page. I honestly thought P or Timbo was going to battle me.
But
1000%.
Again, okay, so I know we won't do it most likely because of the context, but I would actually enjoy going back and redoing that podcast.
I think it'd be different.
I only say that because in literally a week's time, I've been exposed. Okay. Oh my God, this is perfect. Okay. So there are two things. There are two things. Sorry, I'm getting so jacked up. There's two things that
I like the energy. I love the energy, bro.
When you started talking, there's two things that came to my mind, and I literally have freaking goosebumps. So everything you said told me two things, and I could go the corny route
just now or before.
Just right now. Like,
oh, nice.
So in summary, you were talking about you and I debating, talking, whatever. We can see points of view. We can, well, if you made a good point, maybe I should go research that. Maybe I should go look into something, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Super corny statement, but education is power. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. That's a better term.
Knowledge is power. Sorry. So two things with that. I said multiple times in that podcast, I wish I would have done more research going into this, because there's some things I can't argue. There's things I will not engage in, even if I have a firm belief, because I just don't have the facts, like you used to say.
Yeah. Which sucks, though. Like, to be honest.
Which sucks. Which is on me. So the second part of that really got me jacked up is how many people go into a conversation, someone brings up points, and let's hope and pray that they are open-minded to different thoughts and different beliefs, right?
They spout off shit that they don't know.
Spout off, shit that they don't know. Something that hits different. And they're like, never thought of that. The other part of knowledge is power is what you do with what you're presented with after it's hit you. Do you go and research? And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, because after our conversation last week, part of it was like thrown in my face because of social media, but like I did some research and I looked into some shit. But like,
well, good, man. That is That's a huge step, bro. I mean,
So my whole fear, or my whole point is, a lot of people are afraid of the unknown.
yes,
And
very
if you
much.
don't educate yourself, if you don't teach yourself,
Mhm.
and if you're ever challenged with something, even if you're like borderline that makes sense or not, just do some research, because
Yes,
it could confirm your stance or deny your stance.
yeah,
You
or
can make a
sway a
point
little
that I'm
bit,
like,
man. Like it
so
can
so
crazy.
I know it's like, to anybody listening, you're probably like, okay, maybe you're like jacked up I'm so pumped right now because
I love it,
so
love it.
I'm so fixated on the fact that like so much of your fear, so much of your fear can be squashed with knowledge.
Yes, great point.
And
Love that. Great point.
I know you can't teach people sometimes how to read a person, how to be a people person. But if you're trying to check off as many boxes as you can to reduce your amount of fear, you can educate yourself. You can gain knowledge. You might not be a people person. That's something maybe not embedded in you. And you can teach some of that. You can maybe help people, maybe get them a little further along the way. But not everything can be taught.
No,
But you can, the knowledge is out there, the information is out there. And so much of fear is driven by the unknown. So much of fear.
I like probably more than like anybody's thinking. Like people might hear that and be like, "Yeah, yeah, I get it." No, like just take a second, everyone out there, and just think of like how many things that you're afraid of, like from spiders to talking to your boss or asking for a raise or driving down the street and or like, hey, I'm gonna be late for work. Whatever the case is, like how many things on a day-to-day basis are driven by fear? And think of how much that controls your life. And then think of somebody questions you on something that you think you know and you want to battle it so bad because you're fearful that you might be wrong, and if you're wrong again or you're wrong this, that it'll change so much your life and you're already ran by fear on so many things, or a few different things, that you don't want to add another thing like, I'm wrong, like what's going to happen now if I am wrong. And the easy answer is that you're fucking wrong. And now you're educated. Now that you're like, oh fuck, I was wrong. You can either accept it or fight it, look like a fool by fighting it. Like if somebody's like, hey, 2 + 2 is 4. And you're like, nah, it's fucking 3, you dummy. And you fight, you look like a fool. But if you accept it and you're like, all right, I didn't know that. And you just take it as like a humbling moment. It's, I think it takes away like that fear of, hey, I was wrong. What's going to happen now? Another fear of the unknown. What's going to happen if I am wrong? And I think that's the question, Bug, that you're looking for, that people are like afraid of, I guess. It's all fear on fear on fear. You're afraid of afraid.
Can I throw my staple out there?
Oh yeah.
Can I bring this full circle?
No, I can't wait, dude. It's like this is gonna be a good one, I bet. This is gonna be a great one.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning, even before we went live. Right? And you said, I am at a point where I just say what I feel, and that way I don't have any regrets that I didn't say something, I didn't do something, I didn't put my idea out there. Because you said, and I can't remember if this was live or not.
Just to clarify.
90%. Because you can read a room. Sometimes it's not appropriate, right? Like some things shouldn't be said at a funeral.
Sometimes I don't win, and fear overcomes. Sometimes I don't win. I'm
not
perfect.
No.
But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
So there are definitely times that like you read a room and you don't proceed, you don't push it, you don't whatever, because it is what it is, right? For whatever circumstance. But
yeah,
90% of the time, You're just putting it out there because you don't want to have regrets that you didn't say something. And you've had instances where people will come after you, not after you, come after you. They will reach out to you after and say, "Oh man, I'm really glad you said something."
Yeah.
Okay. So that person, we'll just say it's me. Maybe I did that, and I'm sure I have. There's a point, there was that situation made me uncomfortable. I was afraid. I didn't feel the confidence to address whatever was going on at the time. Right. But if I, and sometimes you can't put yourself in the situation to be 100% prepared. Maybe I didn't know the person that, say you confronted someone. Maybe I didn't know that person, but if I had time to educate myself on who they were, what they were about, maybe I could, address it differently or been more of a voice to back you up.
Yeah.
But
if you're educated, is that what you're saying?
yeah, if you, because even if you're not a people person, doesn't mean you can't learn who they are, what they're about, what they like, dislike, how they like to be approached. And I think, jokingly, to bring this full circle, fear drives a lot of our actions, right? It's because we're afraid of the unknown. I think a lot of what we're afraid about is the unknown. Spiders, are they poisonous or not?
They're
Well, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm afraid of them
that
all.
one? Well, first of all, they're silent. You can't hear them crawling around. They come at you at night while you're sleeping. Defenses, little fucks.
So even if you knew everything about spiders, you could still be afraid of them, and that's okay. I do think that it's okay to have some fear in your life because I think that is what keeps us going in certain circumstances. What that keeps us like thriving and keeps us driving. And if I feel like I'm successful and I've done it all, I might get too complacent and I might take some steps back. But if I have that fear driving me of like not paying next month's mortgage or not taking that next step forward or not doing the next great thing for me and my family or whoever, then you might fall into a level of complacency. And to kind of pull this all together is basically fear is okay, but fear can be damaging.
If you let it run your life, like everyone has it. I think it's ingrained in us for a reason. You agree?
It is. And I think
what's your reason?
There's
to overcome obstacles?
Could be.
No, I mean, like, what do you think the reason is that fear is like ingrained in us? I think it's to overcome obstacles.
I don't think there's one answer to that because I think it could be success. It could be.
Fear can control a lot. You're definitely right because fear can cripple you into not even fucking getting out of bed or not asking a girl out, but it also can hold you back from being successful or taking the leap.
I think the negative of fear is, yes, it can cripple you. But if you don't educate yourself, if you don't learn about your fears, if you don't learn why are you afraid, right? Why are you afraid? It goes back to the why. I love the why. We've talked about the why. You and I, Steve, I think all of us have talked about the why. If you don't understand the why it's paralyzing you or crippling you or even just affecting you, then you'll never overcome it. Yeah. But I think it's important to know that it's okay to overcome that fear and know that there's another one in the rearview mirror.
Yep.
Because something's going to change. You're going to overcome something, but something else is going to kind of sneak up on you. Yep. And if you don't approach it in the same way, then you could fall backwards, even more so than you were when you overcame the last fear.
Yeah, bro. Let me throw this out here. It's a little story of me, but it's my analysis, I guess, of my fears. Right. I am afraid of heights.
Okay.
I mean,
and spiders. So spiders on top of ladders. Spiders on ladders fucks you up.
Spiders. I mean, I'll fucking I'll step up to the spider. I'll flex on it a little bit, but heights, hate them. Hate heights. Scare the fuck out of me. I don't know. It could stem back to my childhood when I jumped off a roof on a trampoline and, had some friends, families, whatever. They like bounced me and I fucking flew off and landed on like 3 bikes and it fucking, I don't know, hurt real fucking bad. Could be it, but the lasting effect sucks, right? Because I'm afraid of heights. I hate it. So I try to conquer it. I try to go on, the roof and try to be okay. I went skydiving, but I don't know. I would go skydiving again because it's so exhilarating. It's one of the greatest things. You haven't done it, probably try it. Even if you're afraid of heights, just force yourself to do it. But forcing myself to do these helps me conquer fear. But I try to look deeper into fear, right? Why am I afraid of heights? Like, why can I skydive and still be afraid of heights? Because it's a thing. And the only thing my conclusion is that I'm afraid of dying. Because if I fall or take one step, I'm going to die. And I don't know how to conquer that. I'm still working on that, but at least I think I found the problem. And I think that I have to just accept death because we die no matter what. Like, that's one thing in life that's promised is death. That is the only thing that's promised, is that when you're born, you will die. And, but so you death, right? So it's inevitable. I think the fear behind death comes from, at least for me, other people are probably way different, but for me, and my story is that I feel like there's a story or there's things that I need to share with the world or with people, and that they need to hear. And if I die, they won't be able to hear it because I'm not the one that's, going to be able to say it. And that's probably not true. And I truly believe that, we're trying to change the world, or we're going to change the world. We're going to help a lot of people. And thank you everyone for listening, by the way. But, I truly believe that. Like, down to my core, there's not like a doubt in my mind. It's just when. But there's not a doubt in my mind that when this happens, like, it will change lives. Like, when people start catching on, it might take a year, it might take 5, 10 years, who knows? But we're going to keep doing it. And then sooner or later, it's going to change because we're vulnerable. We spit facts. We talk and we teach a lot of lessons, and people can, listen in and have fun and, enjoy life. But if you, I don't know. It's just one of those deep things that I think about. And if I feel like if I can't do it, I feel like that's my fear. I don't know how to conquer yet. I don't know if you have any words of wisdom or have thought about that, but like, that's one thing that does, I don't know, scare me or fear.
Yeah. And I guess, again, I will still stand by the fact that, having fear, the right kind of fear in your life is okay, because a lot of fears can drive you into the right direction to be successful, hardworking, whatever. It's when they consume you is when it becomes detrimental to your health, your mental stability, your, and then that impacts, it snowballs into a lot of different things. But I also think it's okay that, like, some fears are okay to have because you could categorize them, right? Your fear of spiders is probably not going to, and I could be wrong, not going to prohibit you from taking care of your family, from being successful at work, being a family man, being on this podcast,
No, it affects me going into a crawl space though. Fuck.
And I can understand it's going to have some impact on you, but it's where you categorize your fears of the ones that are detrimental to your progression and others that are just fucking scary, right? Like,
yeah,
I used to be, when I was a kid, we had a ranch house and we had an unfinished basement at the time, and I was afraid to go fucking downstairs because it was a cold, dark basement with minimal lights, and it was a huge basement. And for whatever, I don't even know if I was afraid of someone just being in the corner ready to hack my head off, or a spider jumped down on me and I freaking tense up, right?
Yeah.
And then we got it finished.
Fucking
The base we got
spiders.
we finished our basement, and I'd go down there. That was like my safe haven. Love going down there.
Yeah.
So like you change one element, and I know going from a concrete basement to a finished basement with all that we had, like there's not one element, but we changed one element of my fear, and it no longer affected me. So
Oh man, can I just say something real quick?
yeah.
You change your perspective, you change your life.
Sure.
I think
100%.
Who said that? Wasn't me. I want to take credit, but I can't.
It was me just now. I just said it.
Nice. I just
Right
put it
before you
together.
did.
I just put it together. But no, like if you might have changed your walls, right? You might have
Yeah.
put some sheetrock up or, whatever, painted. But I feel like it's the same thing, same correlation as in your mind. Negative to positive. If you change your mind, you change your perspective. And I truly believe that because I am walking proof that that's a thing. I used to be negative all the time. I used to think that everyone was, or everything. I was like, man, when I catch a break, I think it stems from thinking that you have to have it all figured out, like when you're younger. And that's not the case. Nobody has it fucking figured out. But I think it stems a little from that. But, then I used to just, be negative and be like, man, if I just had if somebody gave me $20,000, I'd be so much better off, and I used to just think that way. And I'm like, and then I changed my mind. I heard, this is why I love Steve Harvey so much. He changed a lot of my perspective. He talked about being grateful, and it really resonated with me. And I noticed that I was so negative all the time, and I just changed it. I was like, no more. And also, one of my favorite quotes is from Eric Thomas. Well, I don't know if it's his quote, but he just says it, and he just says that when you get tired enough, you'll change. And I don't know, he maybe not a quote, but he just said that once, and it just light bulb type shit, right? And so for me, I think that's what it's about, though. You just put things that you learn and put them together, and then, things that make sense to you, and then you just form who you are. But when I changed that, though, I was just tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I was tired of, having no money and not be able to do things that I wanted, not be able to take days off, and, not being able to go out and do this or spending, beer money at the bar and being broke for 3 days. I hated it, and I just got fucking tired of shit. And then I heard this Steve Harvey shit, and I started being grateful for everything I had. And it was the weirdest thing, bro. It just changed everything, and it just flip-flopped stuff, and things started falling into place. Weirdly as that sounds. People might say, oh, well, that's easy. And, it's easy for you to say, maybe not. But I feel like everybody goes through their own struggles. And if you're negative, if you change that around to be positive, and it takes a while to train your brain, but if you can change your fucking brain to be positive and not negative, things will happen for you because you're in the positive mindset. And I don't even worry about a lot of the negative stuff. They just flow by, you just brush your shoulders off. Because none of that really matters when you have these goals and positive things that you want to do with your life in front of you. Those are so much more important, and you start realizing those things, right? That being grateful that you can be on this earth, that you woke up today, and when your alarm goes off and you're like, God damn it, I got to go to work again. You're setting the tone for the day. With the negative, yeah. I got to get up. Oh, I have to go to work. Yeah, you motherfucker, you got to go to work because you got to pay your goddamn bills. What are you going to do?
But you have a choice.
You do have a choice.
And your choice is not going to work. Could that be the last straw that gets you fired?
Yep.
Could that be just a mental break you needed?
Yep.
But I think it's something that
Well, I was
we've
talking
talked
more
about.
day to day, like
Oh yeah,
people who are waking
yeah.
up every day, like hate my job. Fuck. When is it gonna be Friday? You know, that type of mentality shit. Not like because I agree. People need mental health days. They need breaks. I myself need breaks, but like if it's every day and you're waking up, you're setting the tone every single day. And guess what? You're training your brain or your subconscious to be negative and to start your whole day out until you run into something that will change it into positive, a joke or whatever. You're training your brain to do that. But if you wake up and you're like, man, I woke up today, you know, what does life have in store? Because, and I know I said this a lot, I haven't brought it up for a while, but let me just tell you that this is probably the number one reason I think this way. You know, that we have one life, right? I know, I get it, YOLO, whatever, but
Yeah.
you know, you get one life.
Let's bring YOLO back, by the way.
I don't know. I didn't like it in the first place, but
Yeah, let's not do that. That was a terrible idea. Go on.
but you get one life, right? You don't know how long you have. I could go to sleep tonight and never wake up. You know, that's a possibility. It could be 10 years. It could be 10 months. It could be 50 years. Could be whatever, right? We just don't know. But do you want to like live every day negative as fuck and then you're going to die? Like, to me, that is such a terrible way to live. And like, you know, if you can wake up and just change that, I'm telling you, it's going to change a lot in your life.
So you said a ton of great things there. And one thing I want to kind of add into that, because that mindset,
I love it.
That mindset, I understand for people listening. It's not like, choosing
I woke up
Pepsi
this
over
way,
Coke.
by the way.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's not like choosing, I got to choose Pepsi over Coke today or Coke over Pepsi or whatever. It's not like that close of a scenario. I think one thing a lot of people get caught up in is comparison. And I have friends in my life, I have family in my life, older, younger, same age, whatever. And I look at the people my age or younger, and it's like, there are people younger than me that could be deemed as more successful. They have a bigger house, they have more money in their bank account, they have they're a doctor, a lawyer, whatever that may be. But my message is like, be proud of what you've accomplished. Honestly, some people graduating high school is a freaking milestone.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for people to understand not to compare yourself to your peers. You could, if you want that, if you see someone with a better, more expensive car, bigger house, whatever, like, but you're not willing to go and get it, it's probably not something driving you then. So find what truly drives you. The comparisons are just, they're just blanket statements. They're not truly what's a part of you. Like for me, for example, I live like 45 minutes from my mom. My goal is in the next year to, whether it's save enough, earn enough, whatever, like where I live right now, there's a slight increase in the cost of living where I want to move. And I want to be a little closer to my mom. My dad passed away. I spent a ton of time with my mom. We see my mom a lot. My kids love my mom. She's still got a shit ton of energy.
That's why you're going to do it.
And that's why I'm going to do it. And I'm going to find a way.
I know for a fact you're going to do it. 100%.
Yeah. And it will happen.
Because you have your why.
Exactly. Your why. And
sorry if I'm
no, I know, I appreciate it. The whole thing is, I have people, friends, my own age that I went to grade school with that live in that area. And I'm like, they've been able to do it for however long. I'm like, I don't need the biggest house. Like maybe I downsize, maybe whatever I do, I don't care what it is. I'm going to do what I need to do to get to what is, because that's going to be better for my family. And that's a driving factor.
Yep.
So you have to look at what drives you. You have to look at what is going to make you feel more complete, more whole. I'm not going to worry if my house is this big and theirs is that big, or, you know, my kids are going to that school and they're going to that. Like, that doesn't, honestly, that shit doesn't bother me, like, at all. And I'm very lucky that stuff has never bothered me. But I think the biggest thing with making a life change, or making something that's going to better you and your family, is to put the blinders on, figure out where you want to go, and just figure out how to get there. I know it's
Yeah.
very easy to just say, right? You might have to make some sacrifices.
It is easy to say, but go on.
Well, I think when people get that direction, right, they get that mindset. And I've lived in the area I've lived. So the reason I'm by the way, I'm not slumming it. I'm not slumming it. I'm not doing any of that. It's just like, I'm a little outside the city, and you get a little bit more bang for your buck.
Right.
But
that's irrelevant.
But it is what it is. My wife used to work out here, blah, blah, blah. Now my wife and I work remotely. We could live literally anywhere in the entire world and we would be fine. But I want to move, 20 minutes south. And it's important to, like, find something that drives you. I don't care if it's moving 20 minutes south, or you want to retire
your parents'
at 40.
basement.
Yeah. Whatever it is, just whiteboard it. Build a path.
Yeah.
Find people, surround yourself with people that have done it before, and see how they did it, how they got to where they are today. I would love to retire in 10 years, 15 years. Right now, that's not my focus, but I have plans to cut back on when I'm going to retire, right? Because I've seen what it's like to have that life. It's not my focus right now, but right now I have my focus. I have my drive. I have my why. I have my reason to do what I'm doing.
We'll have to talk about that a podcast, because
I know I'm kind of getting off.
I love it, but
a little bit, but it's just like you see these things, and it's I'm not afraid to fail, but I'm afraid to not get to where I want to go. Well, and what's going to combat that is I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to surround myself with the right people, and I'm going to figure it out. It's going to take time. Man. I'm going to fail along the way, but I'm going to get there. So,
see, even though we disagree on some things, we same page on, I would say, majority of, like, life, at least,
Oh, for sure.
And that's why I said last time, like, maybe we disagree on the route to get there, right? But, same ish outcome, but, like, that's just, like, one small speck in the grand scheme of, like, life for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we talk, it makes me smile all the time, because I'm like, same. Like, I fully understand exactly what you're saying. And, just to add to what you were saying is, you got two options. You can sit where you're at and bitch and complain about it and stay in the exact same spot, and it's never going to get any better, and you're going to keep complaining until you change something. Or you can make the decision to change it and look at it and change your mindset, instead of being like, I'm jealous that, this motherfucker next door gets to drive this nice car and he has all this stuff. Instead of thinking it that way, say, okay, what is he doing? Because I'm going to use him as motivation, because I'm going to go and get it too, because I want a nice car. I want a nice house. I want this cool stuff. And so, like, when, I don't know, that's why I'm so big on, like, changing your mindset, because if you do that, I mean, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, or you see something else, but, like, there's two options. You can either go get it in life.
You do or you don't.
And it sucks. Believe me, I don't like getting up fucking 5 a.m. I don't like a lot of the things I got to do, but I got to do what I got to do. And to make shit happen in life. Because listen, if everything just happened because you're upset and you were mad and you're like, oh, well, this motherfucker had it. And if everyone just said, oh, you want it too? Here it is. You would never be happy because you would expect everything. It's the hard times that make the good times so great. And that's why, how bad they're in the moment, like, it makes them so great, right?
And you have to reward yourself. You have to pat yourself on the back when you have an accomplishment. And I want people to keep in mind that we're part of my talk was talking maybe materialistic things, but because that person got that job that paid X amount, allowed them to get that car, that house, whatever, that's fine. I did this to get what I want, what I needed. And maybe it's not the same financial compensation. Maybe it's not the same whatever, but like, be proud of what you've done.
Yes.
Go on your own path. Proceed on your own path. Focus on your own path. And there's going to be, I might have already said this, but we've also said this a lot in this podcast. Control the controllables, right?
Yep.
You can't control the government. Well, you can't, right? You can't control certain laws.
Yeah.
You can't control certain mandates. You can't control certain regulations, some restrictions, some whatever it is. I don't care. That stuff's always going to change. That's going to be an ebb and flow. And you can say, woe is me, woe is me. And I think people are, well, yeah. And I think people are allowed that to some degree. You can be pissed off. There was, not going to get into it, but there's some legal rulings in this last week, but you could say what you want to say. And it sucks in some situations and it doesn't in others. But I think you have to take what you can and just try your best to make the best outcome for you. And maybe you fall short, but if you did everything you can to get to where you wanted to go and you fell short, at least you did everything you can.
Yeah, you'd be proud of yourself, though. You'd be surprised how proud of yourself I am. And, I just want to
and you may think you failed, but you may not have.
Oh.
By the way, sorry. But
I mean, honestly, you probably did fail, but that's a good thing. Failing gets such a bad rap. I mean, losing a game sucks. And everyone's like, oh, well, Super Bowl, you lost, whatever. But you can either take it as, we fucking lost the Super Bowl, or you can take it as, I need to get better and these are my weaknesses, right? And to, I guess, bring up a little moment earlier, Bug, is, when we were talking about, like, someone came out to me and said, hey, I'm glad you said something. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I'm tying this in is, like, that was, I don't know if it's the moment. We'll just say the moment, right? The moment that I knew that I had to, like, I don't know. That was the moment that I knew I had to stand tall and show people that it's okay, because people were afraid or they didn't want to. And I wasn't afraid anymore. And I knew that I had to keep that going on things that maybe I was afraid of, and that I, whatever it is in the world, but like, I knew, like, that moment, like, okay, well, I have to stand tall for the people who can't, and I have to show people that it's okay. And that's honestly, where a lot of drive comes from, is like even if I am afraid or if I'm scared or I don't know the outcome, I'm like, well, we're going to put that aside. We're going to stand tall and we're going to, show people that it's okay. Because if I can do that, maybe, just maybe, somebody else next to me will have that same courage and to stand up when they're afraid for whatever life throws at them, or whether that's people, a big nationwide thing or something, but just stand up for what they believe in. Because if you can't do that, then you're going to get trampled. And I don't know, that's where a lot of drive comes. A little off topic, but that's something I had to say. Sorry.
No, you actually triggered something in my head, and um, we're gonna laugh about this, all right? So, because you were a part of this, and I'm hoping most of who or some people who listen know this story without me being too obvious, but it's going to be obvious. And I think about a time in my own self where probably could have approached it a little bit better, right? But I still think I know I got my point across. I think I just maybe came in a little too hot, a little too Kool-Aid man. Okay. Was back when we were are you laughing because you know where I'm going here or
No,
no?
I honestly I don't.
Okay.
I just love the
So
Kool-Aid Man. Sorry.
you were part of this, but this is Kool-Aid Man Bugga. Probably should have dialed it back a little bit, but I think I got my point
Oh,
across.
you're
But
talking about homie.
it's all about your approach, and I said this earlier. It's about your approach and reading the room. But at the moment, I let my emotions get the best of me.
Wait, this is when you're fired up when we're playing Warzone?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I know what
yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah. So going back
But
to
honestly, bro, I don't know if I ever told you. I was stoked that you did that because it just showed me that you're like willing to stand up for yourself and like something that you cared about, you know?
and
I thought it was a good
and
thing.
I
That was
am.
great.
I think I didn't. There were elements I didn't read the room, and I realized that there were people involved that had a different understanding. It for those who don't know, it came down to women in gaming. We'll just say that because that's even today. It like sucks to play certain games like battle royale games as a woman. You get you know hot mics. You get called certain things and trash talk way more than guys. Like you truly do. And this wasn't technically related to that, but there's a stigma that maybe women aren't as good at certain battle royale games that guys were, whatever. And to me, it's like we're playing with a bunch of friends. We're just having fucking fun here. So regardless, it is what it is. And I just got rubbed the wrong way. And I realized who I was approaching, who I was directing my message at, was may or may not have been as educated on the topic as I was. I don't know that, but they just had a completely different stance. I didn't know this person well enough to that degree. And I just came in, like I said, the Kool-Aid man, and I just fucking blurted my point across to, I don't know, however many people were in the lobby, whatever. And never regretted it for a second. I was like, you know what? This person needed to be
Good.
put in their place. They needed to be acknowledged for their shortcomings and their stance on certain things. However, I did have some regrets after, but my regrets weren't about my message or how I did it, but the fact that I didn't walk this person through my mindset. So what I did was I had conversations with the people involved to further clarify my point, where I was coming from, why I did what I did, why I was so jacked up about it. And I came out on top in the regards that not that I was better than them or anything like that, but that my point got across, right? That in the moment, I probably would still do the exact same thing.
Which you should.
So I can't regret um I can't regret what I did or how I did it. I gotcha. But there's a point where it's okay to circle back with the people, even in the most awkward times, to have a conversation. And that can instill fear in a lot of people because don't get me wrong, I contemplated this for days, maybe probably weeks. And I think the benefit of it was they may not have agreed with me 100% after I had those conversations. I still don't think they did, but they understood where I was coming from and that there was a person in my life that was very close to me that was offended and hurt and like hurt in a bad way. Like, and I agreed with them. Like, I agree with that person. But I understood that where I was coming from in the moment was from true emotion and feeling and drive to get my point across. But But I realized after the fact that it's still okay to still have a conversation after that, to set the story straight, to see if I even made an impact. Whether I did or not, I think it was beneficial to still kind of reiterate where I was coming from in a clear line of sight. And, you know, I think it's important for anybody listening that you can, the point being, long story short, is you could be hit with a situation and you could react in whatever way you did. Maybe you sat by on the wayside and you didn't quite interact, like in Brad's case, where someone came to him after and said, "I'm so glad you said something." Well, maybe that gives you the confidence next time to say something. Or maybe you go a little hot and heavy like I did, and you may still do that, but maybe you adjust it a little bit to be a little bit more effective with the audience that you're addressing.
Yeah. And emotions aren't bad. I mean, you film for a reason. Maybe they're hyped up, but I know I say a lot of quotes, but I like quotes because I feel like they, I don't know, maybe not shape my reality, but they like help me stay like in the zone, you know, and like, hey, well, this is what it is. Helps me remember a lot of different things. But to your point, Jordan Peterson, one of my fucking favorites, he says, you want to be a monster in life and then learn how to control it. Because how else are you supposed to battle the monsters in the world if you were not a monster yourself? And I love it, right? So yeah. I actually, you know, was pretty stoked. I mean, maybe I didn't, you know, clap for you, whatever, standing ovation at the time, but like, you know, I don't know if you remember, but I definitely had your back. I was like, yeah, fucking roll, dude. Dude's, you know, Buck spoken, scoot. And he was all upset, whatever, right? But, you know, because for me, it was just a little different. I was just like more of, some dweebs just spouting off, you know.
Yeah.
Typical shit where, you know, it might have been more personal. You might have had more, you know, in your ear or, you know, more emotions involved with said party. And, you know, their emotions might have been higher and yours might have got higher, right, by feeling that same emotions. And I was just like, oh, this dweeb, he doesn't know. Right. So not everything is bad. Like, I think it's good that you realize after maybe I could tone it down a little bit. Maybe I didn't handle it perfect, but at the end of the day, at least you said something and stuck up for yourself to bring it full circle. You know, like, well, though, if you, how much would you have regretted that if you didn't say anything and you were just steaming and you were boiling?
I truly would have felt bad knowing who was involved and how. So again, like I read the situation. Oh, I would have been pissed. And the funny thing is, here's the funny thing, and you said this before. Isn't
the outcome way better than being mad at yourself forever though?
Yeah, and you know what? Again, coming full circle is the fact that I had a chance to reach out to this person that I kind of fucking laid into. I had a chance to reach out to them after the fact and have a conversation with them to like have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation. So if I never address, because I did have a little bit of like thought of I could have addressed it a little differently, right? There was a lot of people involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably guilt. I would say guilt. There was a lot of people. There was probably, I mean, okay, we'll say 20 people, and I was addressing 2 people out of the 20. And so there was a lot of people. Honestly, the weird thing is the people I really cared about. Well, okay, that's going to sound really bad. The people I really knew and cared about.
Well, there's people in that. Why I asked the question.
So there's a lot of people in that party I didn't quite know. And they can make their judgment on me however they want. That's fine. But like I knew you, I knew P, I knew the females involved. I knew a couple other guys that were involved. And I say involved, they were just in this party. There was a party, it was a private custom game. And I specifically addressed 2 people in that party of, we'll just say 20. I then later reached out to all those individual people that I knew personally to just make sure everybody was like, if they were offended with me, let's have a chance to talk about it.
Wait, you
Because
did
it was
reach out to
about,
me.
I talked to you and P. Don't even say that. Don't even say that.
I don't know if you did, but I just figured.
I did. I made it a point
Did you?
to like, whether we were in a pregame lobby or something, just said like, hey man, did I offend you? Did I cross the line? Oh, me and P, that was like at our peak at playing Warzone together. And I think I brought it up multiple times. I'm like, guys, just tell me if I crossed the line. And you both defended me. You both said you made the right decision. You did the right thing. Like we had your back. We just didn't say anything because you were just fucking on your thing.
Yeah. That's how you know your friends
And
are.
and
I had your back 100%. Even if you're in the wrong, I would have still had your back and then probably told you later on.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's what I expect from the people that are close to me is like,
that's
you know, you call them
how you find out who true friends are.
Well, yeah. And that's something that like really put my mind at ease, like talking with you and P after, and then for the sake of not them being here, I'm not going to say their names, but there was, you know, the other people involved. And I wanted to make sure like, hey, look, if I was in the wrong, just put me in my place right now. And I was okay accepting that with all these other people outside of you and P, like just tell me it's fine. Like I can take it. But then I felt it important to reach out to the people that I directly addressed. Cause I'm like, did you understand my point? Did you understand my reason for jumping off the ledge for some, you might've just thought I was a fucking crazy person, but I made it a point. Maybe it was a little guilt based, but I also kind of want to make sure my point was delivered. Like, I don't know if they got they might've just thought I was a crazy person. Right. And
No,
I kind of had this lack of,
really well.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to just like, hey, you guys get why this wasn't okay. Right.
Yeah.
And if not, like, that's fine. You're just who you are. But I don't know. It was kind of guilt based, but also
let's dive into this real quick. I'm curious now because if, you know, they don't understand, then they're uneducated, right? Or
sure,
something along those lines. Like, so I guess why reach out? Because is that for, and I'm trying to tie this to fear, right? Could be guilt. A lot of guilt's tied to fear. But, so reaching out, I guess it would be like confirmation that you did the right thing. And don't feel singled out because we've all fucking done it a million times, right? So I guess I'm just trying to get to the, I don't know, core problem or the core root of that for all of our sakes, because we've all done it, right? So why reach out to anyone if you know that you did the right thing? Did you second guess that it was the right thing? And because if you the way you were, I mean, for those of you out there listening, Bug was hot. I mean, I'm talking like he was a little spicy. He threw that habanero sauce on there, and he was like coming out, you know, spitting a little fire, which he was in the right. He didn't say anything wrong. I mean, he might have. You could have. I mean, could have as
in the context too. For those that don't know me that are listening to this podcast, I feel like I come off as a pretty laid back, easygoing guy that I don't get too rattled. And Brad's being nice to me right now. I fucking came in hot. I was jacked up. I was pissed off. I was angry. I was yelling. Well, I know, but you were just painting it nicely. And I don't want to dance around it. Like I'm going to address this fully. I already kind of told you guys what it was about. It was about women in gaming and they're not as good as guys. And it's just like, it was just like so fucking bullshit.
He
like
was just being ignorant.
And I fucking hated it. And yeah, I came in front of the whole lobby, which like I keep saying 20. I honestly don't remember how many people were in there.
Yeah, we were in like a little friendly mini tournament. There was probably like
our first and last tournament.
Teams, probably. So
yeah.
say 16 people. 20 sounds big. We'll go 20.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short is I at that point in my life, I was still worried about what people thought about me.
Really?
So there were two things. Two things. One, I did truly want to get my point across. Like, did I present it in a way that you understood? Or did you think I was just like, because, okay, let's be honest. When we were playing Warzone, we'd have a few beers and maybe they thought I was tipsy or whatever, like whatever the case may be. So I truly wanted to approach it and make sure my point got across. Like, do you guys know why this was not okay?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Two, and I'm being fully honest, I was a little worried that someone wouldn't like me, that I offended someone.
Were you
And
more worried that certain people wouldn't like you over others?
I think just in general, I was at a point still. It was at like kind of my cusp.
Okay, just making sure you didn't have favorites.
No. I still fully stand behind what I said and what I did and
Which you should.
how it went across because I'm proud of why I stood up in that moment. Because the weird thing is that was unlike me. That was so unlike me. And I think that's why I was so mind effed. I was so mind effed after that I was reaching out to everybody. Like, did I offend you? Did I cross the line? Like, give me some guidance. Like, what did I do wrong? Did I do it right? Like, I was so mind effed because I was so much of someone that just kind of like went with the flow with things. And it was a very big stance. Like, it might not seem like that way to some people, but I I truly laid into the topic. And
Yeah. You're passionate about it. You said your piece. I thought
it
it was
was
great.
just it was a trigger that just like it was just wrong. It was just not okay, not not meant for it. And I think part of it is if I had just started gaming, I probably would have had no reaction to it. But I had played with guys and girls that we all got close to, and that I'm still close to. I know we don't game as much anymore, but we were gaming 5, 6 days a week, and I was with these people, and I'm like, they tell me when they kill someone, like what? Okay, so sorry, that sounds bad, but in Warzone, when if you don't know,
Video
you
games.
you kill someone in a video game, there's called death comms where they can like they have like 2 seconds to like say, "Oh, you suck" or whatever. And like hearing what some of these girls, women would hear from guys like after they got downed by someone, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a freaking video game and we're that freaking butthurt." Like it was just crazy. And they would go into rain. I played with women that it would be me and someone else, and then we'd have two randoms. And my friend that I would play with wouldn't say a damn word until like 10 minutes into the game because if they said something in the pregame lobby and a guy heard a girl in their lobby, they would just drop out. Wouldn't even play with them.
Yep.
They wouldn't even try.
Yeah.
And it's like that buildup of those instances, and it wasn't even me. Like I wasn't like the female in the situation. It was that buildup that I'm like, you're still this ignorant. You're still this ignorant to like 20, I guess that was what, 2020, 2021, whatever. But it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah, and you know, I'm the dude, hate it or love it, doesn't matter. Like I will say that Warzone is one of the places that women do get treated unfairly. I truly believe that women, they get treated fairly all over the place. Life, work, whatever. Nothing against it, is what it is. My opinion, but I will say that Warzone is one of those where that's definitely not the case. They just try to come have fun like everyone else playing video games, and they get hated on. Oh, you're a girl, whatever. Maybe it's a competition, whatever it is. But those are just kind of the facts on that, because life, there's opportunities, whatever. Warzone, and it's funny though because like in video games, like you just read the name, and instantly kids are pissed off that they got downed or whatever. And I know it's video game talk, but they'll get killed or whatever in a game. And they'll read the name, be like, oh, you dumb bitch, blah, blah, blah. And those go off. And then when they hear him in person, then they just get super offended. I don't know if they're just offended that they weren't, good enough to kill a girl, and that's their own insecurity or whatever. But like, I will 100% agree, that Warzone
crazy,
is one of those places. But
Warzone is one of the most toxic games like ever. Like, and I would love,
bro. Jesus Christ.
I would love.
They think
So I think
people
we
are
need
bad
to,
on fucking anywhere in the world. Go play a game of Warzone. You'd be like, Jesus Christ, these kids are going to hell.
and I think this is a great part of our. So one of the things, podcast listeners, that so in our Discord we have a topic section and things that we want to talk about. And one of the things is gaming. Like, part of it's just the history, right? Where it came from, where it's going, how do you use it as like a coping mechanism or stuff like that. But I also think it's like pretty important to talk about the toxicity of it. And I am a big Twitch guy. Like, I used to stream on Twitch. A lot of us did. And I still kind of watch some gamers from time to time. And there's some females that I watch that are just badass, or their TikToks will come across my TikTok, and I'm like, damn, like these chicks are fucking legit, like would shred me. And I think it's just like, I think the gaming community used to be so predominant that like you played certain games if you were a guy, certain games if you're a girl, right? But battle royale games are so common now. There's so many of them. You have Fortnite, you have Apex, you have Warzone, you have PUBG, you have all these other and all these other iterations, whether it's mobile, on console, on PC, or cross platform. There's so many avenues. There's so much access that I think we're opening up a gate of like a new time frame of like gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I know Brad, I think you might have even put this in the Discord, but it would be a great topic to like discuss, and I think the direction of it, and I think it's important to talk about like the male female dynamic across it as well.
Well, bro, let me just weigh in a little on that, because I think I got a good point. So I think a lot of it stems, like a lot of the guy girl hate or whatever, I think a lot of it stems from like the dudes not liking the girls. I mean, from when you're kids, you don't want to get beat up by a girl. It's kind of a stigma on it, right?
Well, sure.
At least in the gaming community like Twitch, I truly believe that a lot of dudes were super pissed that girls would come in and stream, show a little cleavage, and they would get viewers, and a lot of jealousy would rise up. And then when they tried to, they were just playing whatever games, blah, 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 hot tub streams, whatever. So then when they see them doing the, Apex or Warzone or whatever, and they're good at it, I think that same animosity is there. That same mindset is just like, oh, you're just a fucking little titty streamer, blah, blah, blah. I think that's a lot where, maybe not all it stems from, but I think it's got to be a lot of it.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I really do think it's tough for guys to think like there's another mindset with that too, because I know it sounds terrible, but there was I'm a big Nick Merckx guy, and anybody who knows Nick Merckx, he was a huge. So actually, he came on the scene. Well, he was playing other games like Battle Gear, all these other games, whatever.
Yeah,
he played Gears of War. Sorry, he played Fortnite with Aiden and some other big guys, and I'm throwing names out, and some of you may not be big gamers or whatever, but Nick Merckx is one of the biggest Twitch streamers, and so like the main platform,
like a celebrity.
Yeah, it's gaming. You're basically now on YouTube or Twitch or both, because a lot of the Twitch streamers have YouTube channels, whatever. But Nick Merckx is huge, and I was watching. So Nick Merckx,
I think recently, he's like 5'11", but yeah, he's
okay, yeah. That's the other joke. That's the other joke. I got you. Yeah. But Nick Merckx was a Fortnite streamer, Warzone, when Warzone came out, and then he just got tired of Warzone, so he switched to Apex recently. But when he was a big Warzone streamer, he was playing with Tim the Tap Man, huge. Cloaksy, huge. Courage, JD, huge, whatever. but he had a random fill one time, and he thought it was an 8-year-old kid, and his stream was predominantly 21 plus. Like he would tell his chat, if you're not 18 or older, just please leave, because he's going to cuss, he's going to say shit, whatever. And he did not want to influence young people in a negative way. So
Yeah.
I give him props to that. But anyway, this turned out to be an up and coming streamer that, because she fell into his lobby, I'm not saying she blew up because of that, but Nick Merckx has that effect on people. He's been playing Apex with a guy named Deeds, and Deeds went from, I don't know how many, 0 to 100. Easy way to put it. But this girl now has gotten so much fame that she is now what Brad expressed. She's really good at Warzone. She does her hot tub streams. She's a cute girl, whatever. And she's leveraging her platforms. And I think guys don't see, the very, very long story short is, guys don't see that, like, they can't leverage their platforms like that. Like, guys doing a hot tub stream is not going to get the same notoriety as girls.
Yeah. And it sucks, but it is what
it is. What it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to know what your lane is. And I think that people then get butthurt when someone is leveraging their opportunities in front of them. Agree with it or not, like, they're doing what they're doing to try to get to the next level. And I personally, even if I could have a huge following being in a hot tub playing, like, nobody wants to look at me in a hot tub. Let's be honest. Like, it is what it is. But I just think that, like, it's a different stigma. Like, she's really good at the game. Like, she played with Merckx. Like, she's really good. And she still plays and crushes it, but she is just maximizing her efforts. Right.
Yeah.
And you could have whatever beliefs against or for that, whatever. But, like, if you're doing what you want to do to get to the next level, or your goal is her goal could be, I want to do this for another 5 years and I'm done because I'm maxed out.
Yeah.
Well, then she's going to do everything she can. And she's doing that without crossing any lines or whatever. Like, it is what it is. So I don't know. It's just a huge stigma in the gaming community.
It is. And honestly, I mean, as much as it sucks, I mean, you can't hate. Honestly.
I hate because they're way richer than I am.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even rich.
That's just jealousy, but yeah.
Yeah, it's jealousy. Sorry.
So I actually got a little, I don't know, test theory, whatever. I kind of want to try it out. I was actually going to talk to you off, but let's just right here. Fuck it.
We're not doing a co-hot tub stream. We're not doing it.
All right. Well,
no one wants to see 3 dudes in a fucking hot tub.
All right, well,
4 dudes.
We'll throw that one out. No, because people hate it. People are going to hate regardless, right? They're going to have their own views. They're going to hate, people growing, whatever. But I was actually even thinking on, like, say, TikTok, right? We just throw out our views, extreme views, whatever we got. No backstory, no nothing. Makes us sound, however it fucking makes it sound. Stupid, idiotic, male dominant, whatever it is, right? Or whatever it is. We just throw it out and see how many people hate on it, see how many people like it, see people's mindsets of, like, it's more to me of like a jealousy type thing on how it will play if people just get mad because we're getting attention because they don't agree with our point of view and people like it, or people just like toxic behavior. I kind of want to do it just for kind of fun, for like, just for like a little test, I guess. Right. So like if I say, men are way better than women in every aspect of life, right? Just see how people respond to that.
Oh boy.
Right?
Oh boy.
I mean, just your response right there,
Oh boy.
But you know what I mean? Like,
So wait, so you want
not that I truly believe that, right?
so you want that to be a TikTok. You want to just no caption, no anything. No.
Well, maybe not. We could put whatever hashtags or caption, but like, I don't want like any backstory, any follow up, or any lead up, because I really want to see like how people think, and it's more for my curiosity than anything in
So
behavior.
let me ask you this. Because before, or I think right when we went quote unquote live here, I posted in UNP's Discord and mine. And I said, let's go back. I said to everyone in our Discord, which is, it is what it is, who would be interested in a live episode of our Untamed Entertainment podcast where you can ask questions, propose topics, be involved, or maybe even be a guest on a live podcast. And that you and I, we would have to figure out the logistics because we would have to do that on one of our Twitch channels, but then capture our Discord videos because like we're not partner yet, whatever. But I got 2 responses, and it's our Aussie friends. They would be interested. Kaz
I think we
threw
could.
out some topics. Would that be something that we test out on a live podcast first before we just put a TikTok out there that says this is better than that?
No, because I think it'll reach a wider audience. Like,
So you want to?
Here's the thing, Bug, and
so
you've
let me
said
ask you this
before, right? You've said
with
this
the
before.
one.
I agree.
Okay, go.
ahead.
No, you go.
All right,
Yeah.
you've said this before. I'm not afraid to be the bad guy, right? And that's okay with me, is because it took a long time, but and I haven't got it all figured out. But I got a pretty good grasp on like who I am. So if I say something, outlandish, and people are upset at me, I know that's not who I am. So I'm not gonna get all butthurt, like, oh, I can't believe that they think this about me. Like it'll be okay. And honestly, I honestly wanted to see if you would do it to put yourself out there, because I know that that's one of like your little fears is to, I guess, your people's views of you. And fuck, don't get me wrong, I still, take into factor plenty of people's views on me. I just try to combat that all the time. Like it's a constant battle in my mind where I have to like, hey, I'm not going to lose this war, right? I'm not going to lose this war to fear where it's going to control what I do, and so I don't know. Sometimes I want to test myself, whatever. But besides the fact, I don't know. I was just curious to see if you would do it. I think it'd be a good test for you.
So I would like to see. I think we have to figure out or I would like to see like what's the vision, like what's the first post, like what are we saying, what are we tagging it, and just like kind of see like what the vision that people can get from like or interpretation be from that. I'm open to it.
I mean, so my first little thoughts are that I don't want to take away from what we do is what's helping people and whatever. But I'm also not afraid for people to think whatever they want, because when they come in and listen, they might be like, oh, these motherfuckers, whatever, they said this shit. And then they listen like, no, they're actually good dudes or whatever. So I'm not worried about it per se, right? So we can say whatever. I guess I'm just curious to like see how people react, and I kind of know the world, and I kind of see the world for what it is, so I kind of know a little bit how people react. But I just want to see like how many silent people are gonna like it because they agree with whatever, maybe not fully, but they will. And then how many haters comment compared to how many like good comments you get, right? And I guess the main goal is to help out a little bit on people, because I feel like it'll be a good lesson, right? And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we could, if you do it and you catch a bunch of heat for it, I'm hoping we could turn it into a lesson and like talk about it, right? For a podcast and like, after the fact, on
Sure.
how you feel and how it made you feel before you did it, during, and maybe after, and like reading that stuff, right? And perception of you or whatever. And if that changed your view or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it sounds weird. Maybe, I don't know. In my mind, it sounds good, but
Well,
I don't know.
I will say
I think
this.
it'd be good.
I will say this. Anybody that listened to this point in the podcast, because you made it to what I believe is the end or close to the end, is would love
2 hours.
to get a message, an email, comment on a TikTok. It could be a TikTok that is unpertained to this. Just tag it like, controversy posts or something like that to where like we know what we're talking about, but like just reach out to us. We want people to reach out to us because we want to know what you guys want us to talk about and hear about and challenge. So
that is also one of my side hopes that'll happen is like people will actually like reach out, even if it's negative or hate.
I'm so bummed we've had a couple reach outs. I've had a couple messages in Discord and to be fair, anybody listening, we our Untamed Entertainment Discord is pretty locked down. We're talking about when we were streamers and I had a Discord, Brad and Pistol had a Discord. We still connect with those people and communicate with them, and we get comments from them. So
we should, but yeah.
But anybody else out
there, I
there,
would like to open up our Discord to, maybe have like what we have now, but maybe open up the bottom. I think it might be cool, but we'll cross that bridge later.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
But yeah, dude, I just think I don't know. I think it'd be good.
We can test some waters.
I kind of want to do it. I think it'd be good for. All right, here's my vision. I think it'd be good for you, and I think it would be good to tell like the story of it. To even like just to have people see like how things really are if they don't agree with something, right? Like if it's that bad or if they think it's terrible or you're the worst, or some people might agree. Like just to see how people are in the world and see how many little thumb gangsters there are they will talk all day on social media, but they won't stand up to somebody in person and tell them. And that's what our whole podcast has been about, is fear. Because there's way more fear talking to somebody in person and saying something to their face, seeing the reaction, having to deal with it in time than typing on some goddamn keyboard and not having to deal with any repercussions because you're fucking tool bag 6927. Like, yeah, you can hide behind that, but guess what? In the real world, you can't. So this is just my, I don't know, my little test, I guess.
Your proclamation.
I kind of already know, but I really want to see like how react, because I've never been involved like firsthand like this, like on the other, end of like whatever. And it might not get any hate mail. It might dud out. Who knows? But
sure,
it might, I might do it, or we might do it a couple times. Who knows? But, and also, as shitty as it sounds, Bug, sometimes it's good to get some hate. And
the right hate.
Well, now let me just preach for like 2 seconds. Is haters, bro. Haters. I've kind of grown to love them because they motivate me on times that suck or things that I'm like, man, I don't want to do this shit. And then sometimes it'll pop in my head, this little fucking dweeb, Billy Bob, whatever, says like, something stupid. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's a comment. and it doesn't affect my day to day. But sometimes when I don't want to do something, I'll try to keep something stupid in my mind like that to like give me a little motivation and be like, you know what? Fuck you, Billy Bob. I'm going to fucking do it now. So fuck yourself. Just to prove them wrong, and whatever motivation that is, right or wrong or disagree, agree. That's not my only motivation, but sometimes it's the motivation that you need. And sometimes in life you take what you can get. So I've kind of grown to like haters a little bit because I already know that most of them are little softies behind the keyboard. They're just spouting off, right? They're mad about something. Their mom didn't hug them, whatever. I already know that. But when they say stupid shit, sometimes I don't really let it bother me until I need it. It's kind of on my little, memory bank, and I'm like, fucking
little back burner.
Little Billy Bob 6'9". You think you're fucking tough, dude? All right, I'm gonna fucking do this shit because Billy Bob thinks he's fucking tough. And I don't know. It works, so I don't know. I don't want to say, Bug, that anything, but I think it'd be good. Just from what I've heard tonight on our conversations, I think it'd be good because I don't know. I just think it would, and I know we're different people, but we're not that far off.
No, we can meet. Hey,
we'll
we can meet
talk
in the
about
middle.
this after, but I'm telling you, tell me if I'm wrong, that we are very, very, very similar.
I think we have a lot. I don't disagree. I think the funny thing is, and I said this earlier, is people that listen to, if you haven't, go back and listen to our podcast from the week before. I know we're talking in the future / past, but I even go back to that podcast in my head, and we agreed on more things than I think we really realized. And I think in general, let's take politics out of it, but let's just take being humans and choosing what's right for people and how to address things and how to go about your daily life and how to better yourself and how to motivate yourself and how to address fear and how to overcome challenges. All the things we've talked about. I think in a very general sense, yeah, we 100% have a very similar vision, and
different ways of getting there, but
yeah, maybe different things that motivate us because we've had different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But we understand the general concepts of where we need to go and how we're going to get there and what's not going to hold us back and what does challenge us, how we're going to overcome it. I think it's what's beautiful about this podcast is, we're going to disagree on things. We're going to agree on things. We're going to find common ground on things. But at the end of the day, we have the same drive. We have the same vision and the same goal. And that's what's going to hopefully resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah. And we might have different approaches on things and
yeah,
that's
for
fine.
sure.
And if we were the same, then we would just repeat each other all the time. And that'd be super annoying. But, we have different ways. And that's, this is, I guess this is me just, because I was, to be honest, Bug, I guess I resonate because I had a lot of the same fears, or I had a lot, and I'm sure you've progressed on different areas than I have, but like this is one of them where I've had to like force myself to like try to do it. And I guess this is my attempt at like a sink or swim. Like, hey, let's see what you got. Let's see what happens, because I could do it all day and I not be afraid and not give a fuck. Right.
Yeah.
And that's just where I'm at. And not saying I'm not afraid of anything. And honestly, can I just say, Bug, real quick before we end this, that we talk about so many things and so many battles that we have and I don't know, different walks of life, that one thing that bugs me is like that we almost have to explain our backstory all the time. So people won't be like, well, you had it easy, or
Yeah.
you don't know what I've been through. No, motherfucker, I know what you've been through. I've been through what you've been through, and I fucking came out already. This is why I already know what I know. This is the knowledge that I'm trying to drop on you. And I don't know, sometimes it just annoys me that I'm like, man, you guys really don't know. You guys think that I have it all, that I have always had it all, that's just been an easy road, that I have all this knowledge to drop on you for me not doing anything? Like,
I think the
you
struggle
know?
is that it's in 2022 and going forward, it's very hard to take people for their word. You have to validate it. And that's that approaches in a lot of walks of life. Like you have to prove your um prove your worth. You have to prove your worth in everything you do, and you have to show you struggled. You have to oh my god, you have to show you struggled. You have to show that you hit a
You
wall, that you
overcame.
failed, that you failed, that you didn't do what you wanted to do, and you have to show. You almost have to prove people first that you sucked before you can allow them to believe why to follow your path, right?
Well,
And you have to
maybe.
show that, and then when people realize what you have overcome, they then can believe how you got to where you're at today.
Well, if that's the case, maybe we should just all take one podcast and tell all of our shitty stories about how we've been through dog shit and this and that, and then how why we're at where we're at now. Because I mean,
Yeah.
to me though, the reason why I hate it, and I don't think, because I try not to discredit anyone for what they've been through, because everyone has been through tough shit in my mind. Like, I don't think what I've been through is tougher than what anyone else has been through. And I don't, people might say, oh, well, you didn't have to deal with this and this. Okay, well, I could just say you didn't have to deal with this and this, right? It's not a tick for tack game for me. I just know that everyone's life is tough. And I know that everyone has to go through this fucking tough ass game we call life. Those are just facts. So for me, it's what you learn through it, right? So if I'm telling you what I've learned and you're gonna tip me back with, well, you don't know, you haven't done this. To me, I'm like, listen, motherfucker, we've all been through shit. I'm trying to help you guys out and drop some knowledge, right? And I don't know, I guess that's why it bugs me. And that's my little rant, Bug. And we can cover a lot of different topics. That's a rabbit hole itself. But I just want to get that out of my chest a little
No,
bit.
I feel you.
Some
I feel you.
days I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That way you can sleep better.
I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anyone. I just been through what I've been through, and here's where I'm at. Here's what I've learned. Take it or leave it. That's all. And if
I
you're
love it,
listening
man.
this deep in the podcast, then you've got some great knowledge. But
Yeah, you've been prepared for all walks of life. But I think to kind of wrap it up, I don't know, we probably got a little off track here and there. One thing I want everybody to know, if you're still listening, is we're so passionate about what we talk about and like our vision and our direction. And sometimes we get a little off cue or we get down a rabbit hole or whatever. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to, be passionate about what you believe in and what you love.
that's my favorite part, bro.
And I think we have a lot of good things lined up. I think we're slowly but surely getting to know who we are, what we're about, and what we're trying to deliver. Whether it's a live podcast down the road, whether it's more guests, maybe it's a little switch up each week with who's on the podcast so that we get a little bit more variety or different points of view. But I think at the end of the day, like we're just here to help, here to guide. And the
Yeah.
more that you comment back, the more direction we have on what you want to hear about. And we're willing to talk honestly about anything. Like
I
honestly
would
about anything.
love, bro. I would love if people were like, hey, I really need you guys to talk about this subject because I need to hear, you know, different points of view on it. I would love that because we can, we'll talk. We'll be like, hey, what do you want to talk about this week? And we'll kind of just back and forth it, right? And we'll have we have good podcasts, good conversations. But if you really want to hear something, reach out. And we will talk about it the best we know of in every angle we know of and what we've been through on how to, make it easier for you, or I don't know, even like explain a little logic behind it, even if we don't know exactly, what it is, or we miss it a little bit. At least we'll try to explain, a little backstory of what that, and hopefully that will be enough to answer your questions. So
Yeah.
feel free to
Well,
drop those anytime. And we are always open for questions, concerns, topics, whatever you want to cover. We're always here. Reaching out if you want to be a special guest, reach out too. We'll have a little interview.
the thing with a special guest, if you do want to be a part of that, by the way, we're 100% on board with that and looking to do a live podcast. But if you want to be a special guest, drop us what you want to talk about, because we want you to have some knowledge on it. Like, we want you to be passionate about it or have experienced something tied to that, because we do want it to be impactful. And not to say that, I mean, it could be anything. It could be if you feel like you have something deep to talk about the color blue, fucking talk about it. But like, just bring something to the table, and we respect it. And as long as you have some level of knowledge on it, we'd love to dive into it. It spices this podcast up, and we're down. So appreciate that.
Yes.
But
100%.
I think it's that time, sir. We
I think it's that
cheers
time.
to the
Good podcast, by the way. I thought it went pretty well. Just the two of us.
just the two of us.
We
can make it if you try. I think the
we
biggest
didn't
thing.
battle or nothing. I mean,
No, I think we were able to keep it together. And sure, there's always going to be your little divergent little conversations and stuff like that. But I think the only thing we didn't do for the listeners is like record our initial conversation. But I think we captured some of that in this. And for anybody listening, appreciate you, even if you made it this far. And
yes,
as always, cheers. Till next time.
Till next time.